Today we're going to look at the online documents software on CountGPS. When you click on that tab, it'll show you a list of all the key documents you can either order or prepare using the CountGPS online system. This member cost column is what your firm would incur for either ordering or prepare this document. For members of Count, you will earn CTCs for each of these relevant documents you order and prepare. And this recommended client price is a very important benchmarking tool that represents the true value to what you could or should be charging your clients for each of these individual documents and reports. So today I'm going to show you a brief example of how we conduct a business structure report, which is basically a statement of advice based on what our client's business structure needs are. Now, I already have a client set up here, and I'm going to use myself as an example. But if you were a new firm to GPS, you would set up a new client in the bottom below. We'll click on the pencil on this particular client, and this enables us to confirm all the client details that we have set up in Wealth Planner. Once we're happy with the information that we have in there, we'll simply click on Wizards on the left-hand side. Now you'll notice that the documents that open up when we click on Wizards are all the documents that we can prepare for the individual client that we have set up. So using that same reasoning, if you want to jump online to CountGPS and prepare a trust for a client, then it's logical that we would want to set them up as a trust client first, find that client, and then the wizard will open up for doing discretionary trusts or hybrid unit trusts, for example. Now here's the business structure questionnaire. We've agreed to the terms and conditions, and let's just say, for example, you had a meeting with myself and I want to start up a consulting firm, for example, and you want to give me a statement of advice based on my business structure needs. Give the business structure a name. Now you don't have to do an ASIC search on this, but this just helps you retrospectively look back at the advice you've given to your clients. Now we simply follow the questionnaire based on what we know of our client's circumstances. So under the statutes or regulations applying to this investment or business, is operating through a trust structure prohibited? Well, if it is, then our only pathway really is to go down a company recommendation. But most times it isn't, so let's continue on. How many family groups are to be involved in this consulting firm? Well, based on the meeting, we found out from our client it's just one family group, and he doesn't want to bring any new investors into the business. So you can see it's taken us down the pathway of a discretionary trust. Now, I'm sure within a couple of minutes of you talking to the client yourself, that you probably would have come up with that same piece of advice. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve with the CountGPS system. We're trying to systemize the approach or the processes that go through directors and partners' head by nature, so that all the growth and profit doesn't depend on them, in this context being the only ones in the firm who deliver business structure advice. Now let's say, for example, I worked for you and you were a managing director of your accounting firm and I was a junior accountant. I could have used the CountGPS system to prepare the statement of advice for me. Went to you and my managing director, his name is Timothy Munro. So I said, Tim, had this meeting with Harvey Penny, he's going to start a consultancy firm here in Brisbane. Here's a snapshot of his circumstances, and the GPS system has come up with a discretionary trust with a company as a trustee. Now, I'm very happy with this advice. I actually thought of this during the meeting myself, but here's my signature. Tim, are you happy with this advice? Now, if he is, he would sign that off, and that would go into our client file, whether we did it electronically because it's available as a PDF, or we could print it out and put it in there manually, depending on what our approach is for the firm. And that's just a nice internal control measure to make sure that although you're a partner and director who's able to delegate a lot of your systems and services out now to junior team members, now you could a system in place for keeping your finger on the pulse as to what advice is leaving the doors. So here's the formalized statement of advice. We've got a beautiful 6-page recommendation letter that snapshots the client's circumstances, and all we're trying to do is apply our professional knowledge to the areas in red and personalizing this to our client's circumstances. So rather than spending 3 or 4 billable hours as the advisor, this has all been done for us. We can finish the document off with a statement of advice on what our action plan is, and this is where you'd specify your quote. We get an authority to proceed to make sure that you as the accounting firm will get paid for this at the end of the day. A structure diagram, because the point of this document is we want to have the client see the value in the advice we give to them. If they need to see the value in the advice, they need to understand that advice. So personalize the structure diagram, and it will finish off with the characteristics of that trust. So within half an hour of billable time, you've been able to prepare a $500 statement of advice because the GPS system makes it easy for you to go ahead and deliver this.